100 pounds up or 100 pounds down, people treat you different. After I lost 100 pounds and was working to keep it off, because I lost 100 pounds and everything I was doing was keeping me away from that. But when I was stressed, or when a girl broke up with me, or when my family was having drama, the fat kid was still there. Like, hey, go smack a thing of Twizzlers.
Yeah.
Hey, go eat all the Reese's peanut butter cups.
Right.
Hey, cereal sounds bomb. To get this new version of myself to last, I have to understand that the old version of myself was ultimately doing the best he could with what he knew. Everything that needed to be done and that was done was very simple. Losing 100 pounds is easy because it is so simple. The hardest part is keeping it off, because have you done all the internal work? Are your frequencies and your vibrations in alignment with each other to continue on this journey that you're on, this fitness journey? Or is there some discord? Is there some non-alignment here, right? Do you think you're this person, but you don't feel you're this person?
Are you happier because you lost 100 pounds, or has it been the same? When setting up a massive weight loss goal, it can be extremely daunting. Where to start, what to think, where to begin, all of that stuff can be so complex we don't even start. Today, I got Nick Nash for the billionth time here. And today I want to talk about things I would have wished I would have known before I lost 100 pounds. And first off, before you guys start thinking, it's like, Nick lost 100 pounds? Yes. I had one of those faces where I was like, quit lying. And then he showed me a picture on what he looked like, and I couldn't believe it. So I wanted to really go over, because a lot of you guys may have some daunting goals, whether it's 30 pounds, 50 pounds, 100 pounds, it doesn't matter. There's going to be some things that you wish you would have known. Today, we are going to go over his top 3. You ready to smash this?
I'm ready, bro. Thank you for having me.
Dude, thank you for coming again.
I
Nick
appreciate
Norris.
it.
I didn't have a nickname.
Nick
Norris. Because you can do everything.
I appreciate that. Shout out Chuck Norris.
All right, before we start hammering some of these, because I think we're going to dive deep into it, I want to start off like, were you always bigger? Was there like a kind of a journey where you started to get bigger?
Good question. So I've always been like the big athletic guy, right? So I've always used to think it was big boned, right?
Yeah.
And it was one of those things. It was like body dysmorphia. Like I thought I was bigger than I actually was. So oh man, I don't know how far back you want to go. We'll just go to high school. So in high school, my sophomore year, I wrestled at 218, which is light heavyweight, and I was like 190 to 200.
Okay.
So thinking I'm huge, but not actually being huge, right? I wasn't chiseled, didn't have the abs, had big arms, big legs, right? But wasn't chiseled. So that was sophomore year.
Yes.
And then after sophomore year, they decided that they wanted me to play defensive tackle. And so
had to gain a lot of weight for that.
Had to gain a lot of weight, right? Yeah. Because you have guys that are like 6'6", 6'8", 350, whatever. Mm-hmm. So I went so slowly after the sophomore year. Going into my junior year, I started to put on more weight. And so I went from like roughly 215 up to like 250, somewhere between 240 and 250. Still moving, still actively in the gym, actively out playing basketball and doing all the things that I love to do, just at a bigger size. And then by my senior year, I was 270, 280. Jeez. Playing defensive tackle. Okay. And still playing rugby. My junior year, they had me playing 8-man for rugby. My senior year, they had me playing tight nose prop, right? Just because I got so big. Mm-hmm. And then that was senior year was like I would bounce between 260 and 280. Like that was home for me.
Oh my gosh.
And then after high school, I moved in with one of my really good buddies, and he was a football player, defensive tackle, one of my really good friends. And we were sitting on the couch in our apartment, and we had a conversation, and the conversation essentially led to like, hey, we're sick of being the fat kids, right? If we ever see 300 pounds on the scale, that's it. We're done being fat. Let's go figure out what abs are like.
Okay.
And so probably 6 months after that, I moved down to St. George, Southern Utah, and was living with my high school sweetheart while she was going to college, and I ballooned up to 300 pounds.
Oh my
And
gosh.
as soon as I saw that number on the scale, I like to say a breaker in my brain flipped, right?
Mhm.
And so it was, once I saw that number, I was like, "Okay, cool. I'm sick of this. I'm sick of my body hurting. I'm sick of not getting great sleep. I'm sick of having no confidence. I'm sick of everything that being overweight entails." And
Mhm.
so it was, all right, well, let's go figure out what abs are like. Let's go figure out how the world is different when you have abs. And so then started my journey.
Yeah. So, dude, one, I think it's really hard to get to 300. So you must have been force feeding yourself to get up all at least like the first initial stages, or was it easy for you?
I can eat. I
You
can
can
eat.
eat, yeah.
Yeah, bro, I can
So you had
eat.
a gift for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's what I will say looking back, part of the reason I ballooned so far up is, and one of my rules for myself now is I no longer eat past 9 or 10. Usually
Mm,
I'm asleep by 10 o'clock.
okay.
And so what that did, or the reason that became a rule, is because what I was noticing is when I stayed up late, like I like to be a night owl. I like
Yeah.
to be a night owl and an early bird. But when I'm a night owl, once it gets past 9 or 10, then I just start snacking on absolutely everything.
And that's where you get like
And that's where
double the amount of
a
calories that you
hundred
normally
percent,
take in.
because it's all processed food, it's all processed carbs. All they do is stick to your body. And after you eat to your heart's content, what do you end up doing? You end up going to sleep. So
Yeah.
that was it was it was easier than it should have been. Let me
Yeah.
just put it to you like that.
Yeah. I feel like there's not a lot of people that have their trigger points or their
Mm.
frustration points. It's
Mhm.
rock bottom for them.
Mhm.
Why 300 was like that was the limit for you?
Mhm.
Because beyond 300, what would you did you foreshadow anything happening to your body? What was
I I wouldn't let myself foreshadow. I wouldn't let myself look into what that future would look like.
yeah,
It was 300 on the scale was the end all be all. It
like this is dead
was
to me.
the line in the sand,
Okay.
right? And
Okay.
so then it was cool. What do I have to do? All right, well, I'm gonna start running more. Okay, well, I'm gonna start eating a little bit better. I got a job at Gold's Gym. Shout out Gold's Gym in Southern Utah.
Okay.
Started working behind the desk when I got off work. Went and played basketball for a little bit. So just really started doing something daily in relation to my fitness.
Okay. You started moving.
Yeah.
So you started running. You changed your environment by like, I'm just gonna work at a gym.
Hmm.
And then what ended up happening with your weight loss? You were top of the line 3.
Yep. Top of the
And then
line
what did that look
3,
like?
and then slowly started to whittle. So I went from 3 back down to 280, and then probably within 6 months, I went from 280 to 260, and I plateaued at 260 for probably like 6 months.
Okay.
And this is one of those things. Whenever I have anybody who wants to lose weight, I always am such a big advocate for pictures,
Mm-hmm.
because when I was 280, 290, I vividly remember taking progress pictures in the gym bathroom at Gold's Gym.
Mm-hmm.
And because I plateaued at 260 and I was frustrated, I deleted them. I would give anything
To get it back.
to have those photos back. So that's why I'm such a big advocate, because, and fortunately and unfortunately for me, I couldn't see my progress. So it was frustrating.
Yeah.
But whenever I'm helping anybody in through a weight loss journey of their own and we have pictures, we can go side by side and I know what differences to look for.
right.
And so it's really easy to point out. And then once you see a whole bunch of little small wins, it's
Mhm.
easier to keep your progress. It's easier to keep your momentum going in the direction that you want it to
Mhm.
go.
That's so good because I always encourage because they're like, I'm not ready to take a photo yet.
Mhm.
He was like, that photo is not for that person.
Mm-mm.
That photo is going to be for that person when you stall
Mhm.
and you feel like there's no more hope and
Mhm.
you need to borrow a little bit more hope.
Mhm.
And that little bit of hope is that picture that you didn't want to take,
Mhm.
but I told you we should have took.
Mhm.
And dude, you're 100%. It's a tactic for me as a trainer
Mhm.
to just be like, check this out.
Mhm.
And then they're all sat in the dumps and then their eyes open up and they're like, grab the barbell, let's go. Let's do another set.
100%. It reinvigorates them.
Okay.
It's really reinvigorating to have those pictures.
Okay, so that's 6 months of plateau because people are like, they have 1 week of a plateau and they quit.
Yeah.
You had 6 months. How did you break that? What was your process of breaking that?
Process of breaking my 6-month plateau. It honestly, when I think about it, I was very fortunate because you met my brother Adam, my
Yeah.
best friend Adam.
Yeah.
He became a bigger influence in my life at the end of that 6 months.
Mhm.
And so I've always been moving. I've always been running. I've always been playing basketball, even though I was huge, still doing it because it's just what I like to do. I have a lot of energy.
Yeah.
And so how I got out of that 6-month funk was me and Adam went to go play basketball 3 or 4 times a week. And he had the conversation with me. He was like, if you hear me yell go, I don't care what the ball's doing. Just understand I'm coming down with the ball and there's going to be an outlet pass coming your way.
Yeah.
So the ball would hit off the rim. He'd yell go and I would just start running.
For a fast
Right.
break.
Just start running. And then he'd huck it up to me. And so it allowed me to fall back in love with basketball even more. And like I said, we were playing 3 or 4 times a week. That's one of the things I try to get people to understand when they want to lose a lot of weight is whatever form of cardio that you don't mind doing or that you enjoy,
Double up.
do as much of it as possible.
Yeah.
Because it makes your weight loss journey so much easier. Because you don't look at it as working out. You look at it as something fun that you want to go do. Yeah. And so we started doing that. He started making me run more. And that kind of allowed me to get through that plateau and then build more momentum as I started to see the changes, as I could move better and started fixing my nutrition, started recovering a little bit, right? Because I was in my early 20s. Nobody recovers in their early 20s. Nobody. So yeah, it was the pivotal relationship that I have with my brother Adam and how he was like, cool, we just got to get you moving more. And I was like, all right, cool, let's move more.
Okay, because I like to build those little phases here. So give people pragmatic ways to look at how to do this. Your first 20 to 30 pounds, you just shifted your environment. You're like, I'm just going to work out at a place that works out. And you lost 20, easy 20 pounds. You hit this plateau. And the second phase to this was make that thing you hate doing fun. Whether it's basketball, some people it's dancing, running,
some people riding a
running,
longboard,
some people it's
bike
surfing,
riding,
jiu-jitsu. Make that thing that you hate doing as fun as you can. And don't just do it once. Do it as many times as you possibly can. And then you start to see those numbers move again. And the other side was finding that support system. I think that's huge. Like, who's going to support you in this? Because there's going to be people that are not. And there's going to be people that are. And when you recognize those people in your life, attach to them, right? Attach to them as best as you possibly can because they want you to win. There's people in people's lives that want them to win. They don't even see it. If they could just recognize that and attach to it, you're going to break through that plateau. Okay, so we just broke through that plateau. But let's give at least one nugget because the question was like 3 things I wish I would have known. Give me one thing you wish you would have known as you started to lose 100 pounds.
Cool. So the first thing that I wrote down was losing weight or losing 100 pounds is way more mental than it is physical. Like I said, I've always been an athlete. I've always played baseball, rugby, football, basketball, wrestled. Like I've always been active. Activity wasn't a problem. It was what I was stuffing my face with and why I was stuffing my face with it. Right? What emotion was I wanting to not feel? Was it loneliness? Was it lack of confidence? Was it stress? Was it whatever?
Yeah. Okay, mental side. How did you what were some of the initial stages you started to understand that it was the mindset?
That's a good question. So in the moment, I didn't quite understand it. And it wasn't until I moved down here and you posed the question of what do I need to release from a mental space to lose weight in a physical space that I was really able to start unpacking that whole process. And so some of the things I came up with was self-sabotaging behavior, was the feelings of unworthiness, was a yearning for external validation, right? Those were the 3 biggest things. And once I became aware of those three biggest things, then it was giving myself the affirmation of I am the type of person that, right? I am the type of person that works out every single day. I am the type of person that does cardio 3 times a week, right? Giving myself that identity and then allowing the identity that I'm giving myself and speaking to myself to become manifest in my reality.
Yeah. That's so huge. Because in my training career, I always thought it was just the nutrition and the exercise. And I had a handful of clients that would change at least 60 to 70%. And then the ones that I was so frustrated about were the ones doing everything right. And I didn't recognize it was the mind. And then I started asking about, like, what do you mean you ate that? And then they would just say things about themselves that didn't serve them. Right? It's like, it's just part of my genetics. I'm big boned, you know, and a lot of those things, while it seems harmless, it creates a trajectory of specific actions that doesn't serve the next identity.
You're creating a narrative in your own story.
Yeah. Give me like just like an example of like you thinking that you're a big bone. What did that result a lot of times in some of your actions?
So just with the thought of being big boned, it was like if I went over to somebody's house and they offered me food, cool, I ate the food, whether I was hungry or not. And then if they offered me more food, they were like, "Oh, come on, you need to eat this." And I was just like, "Oh, okay, cool." And I would eat it. So I was eating to like 100, 120, maybe even like 150% full.
Oh my gosh. So just that identity, that's me.
Yeah, that's who I am. I'm the big boned guy. I'm the, oh, you needed a garbage disposal? Oh, you made a whole bunch of food that nobody's taking home? Oh, okay, cool. I'll come over and eat some.
And you became that person.
100%.
And then what would, in the event that you didn't see the scale move, you're like, that's just me. Is that kind of what happened over time? And then once you shifted that, when did you stop believing that you were big boned? I mean, you do have stronger bones for sure, right? But I mean, like, when did you stop, when you shifted that narrative all of a sudden?
That narrative shifted when I got back down to 240. That narrative was like, oh, okay, cool. I am not big boned. There's no such thing as big boned, right? There's a lot of adipose tissue on top of the muscle, on top of the bone. Everybody's skeleton weighs the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah, when you see it in real time.
Or like you see the x-rays, right? Like they take an x-ray of an obese person, they take an x-ray of a fit person, and you're just like, the bones are, everybody's bones the same size, right? Unless you're like Shaq size, then you got bigger bones, right? But for the majority of us, everybody's bones are the same size. Everybody's bones weigh the same amount. So being big boned is not a thing. It's an excuse, right? It's something that you're fed almost in with the intention of loving kindness and compassion, but it's almost like you're being coddled.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of the thoughts serve us in a way or protects us from a harder version of life, right? It protects us from failing. I get this a lot where my clients are just like, I'm never going to get to this level. And it does serve them in one way, but it also prevents them from getting to the next level. It serves them that it's okay to be here and I don't have to experience that. But it also like prevents them from really challenging this new identity of themselves. I think some of the biggest changes often happen when that narrative emerges. And it normally happens in the plateau. It normally happens when you see the scale go up 1 pound. That component, that like flexion point, is where some of the greatest changes will happen. And if you just had this narrative that you said is like, this is more mental than physical, people can grasp to that at that moment where they feel frustrated, and then now they get to work. Now, how hard is that work? What's harder, the mindset work or lifting the weights?
The mindset work. Oh my gosh. The mindset work's the hardest because 2 reasons. First reason, you have to become aware of it, right? You have to become aware of the mental garbage, of the self-deprecating voice inside of your head that's been on the ride for X amount of years.
Yeah.
Right. And then point number 2, the reason why it's hard is then you got to figure out what to do with it. A lot of the times most people don't like being alone.
Mm-hmm.
right? Most people in our generation fear being alone, and it's because when you're alone, if you don't have a good inner dialogue, you're in bad company,
Yeah.
right? You're sitting with yourself, which is not the highest version of yourself, which is the lowest version of yourself. And you don't want to sit there and do all that inner work, right? You don't want to try to figure out why your thoughts are the way that they are. You don't want to try to figure out where it came from. You don't want to try to figure out how you can change it and how everything in your life ultimately is happening for you and not to you.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It makes 100% sense. And I'll experience this in my life in terms of just personal growth.
Mm-hmm.
Growth doesn't feel good, whether it's physical or in like internal version of growth doesn't feel good
Mm-hmm.
because you're essentially splitting into two,
Mm-hmm.
right? Imagine physically splitting a person into two. It doesn't feel great.
Mm-hmm.
So under those emotions, a lot of times, like I say, like people just, they're like, it's better to just be this person.
Mm-hmm.
Sure,
Mm-hmm.
if that's what you want. But I encourage them to like challenge and feel that discomfort because at some point you split and then you're like, it's just a twin.
Mm-hmm.
It's just your homie. So how did you start handling this version? Did you like put him in the back of the trunk or did you eventually befriend this person and make them in unison? How did you do that?
That's such a good question. So I used to want to kill the fat kid inside of me, right? I used to want to kill the fat kid in my head.
Mm.
Try to do that for a lot of years. Fat kid's not going away. He's still in there. He still likes to eat, right? And so it's not a matter of killing any aspect of you.
Yeah.
It's a matter of understanding that aspect. And like we kind of talked about previously, understanding the why. Because once you get down to the why, then you can start consciously making decisions that are more aligned with where you want to be versus where you are, right? I like the idea of split, right? Because when you're growing and you're no longer cool in this groove that you're in and you're trying to forge your own beaten path, that's when people get into imposter syndrome. Right. So as I'm going through my fitness journey, as I'm in the middle of my plateau, thinking to myself, like, come on, bro, you're fucking fat. Like,
Right.
there's no way you're gonna get down to abs. There's no way you're gonna be able to see a six pack.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not you. You're big boned.
Right.
Right. And so then it was a matter of, okay, cool. I know where this path leads. I've been it majority of my life. So anything that feels like I'm going down this path, I'm actively gonna do the opposite. Right. Wow. So if I want to sleep in, I'm getting up. If I want to have a Twix, I'm going to have some fruit. Yeah. If I want to just rest, I'm going to go for a run. Mm-hmm. And then it slowly really just kind of divides. And then somewhere down the line, I don't necessarily know if you're like, oh, okay, yeah, now I am this person. Mm-hmm. It gets somewhere down the line where someone reminds you of something that the old person would have done or the old person would have said. Yeah. And that wasn't even anywhere in your ballpark of frequency or vibration.
Yes.
And then that's when you're like, okay, I'm no longer that person, right? But there is, in the plateau, you get to make that line in the sand. You get to make a stand. It feels like you're an imposter inside your own reality because what you have been and where you want to go are not succinct yet, and so you're kind of in an internal limbo.
Wow.
But as you work your way through it, as you do the internal work, as you really come to figure out what the why is and why it is that you want to do whatever it is you want to do, then it's a lot easier to make the opposite decision of what you've made, right? Majority of my life, I had been the fat kid. So I knew what all those decisions looked like. I knew what staying up late looked like. I knew what eating late looked like. I know what not taking care of my body looks like. Mm-hmm. So if I know all that, I have the knowledge and the experience of all that. If I'm walking down this path where I'm splitting and I do that again, I'm just being ignorant.
Wow. Did you eventually meet each other?
Great question. So, right, diverged, right? Trying to kill the fat kid in my head. I'm no longer that guy. I'm the CrossFitter. I'm the guy with the abs. Yeah. I'm the guy who does 100 burpees a day, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm going here, going here, going here. And as I split and I try to get further and further and further away from the fat kid, I was never really able to run from him. I was never able really to kill him. Yeah. I was never really able to get rid of him because it's an aspect of me. Mm-hmm. Right. And so then it was, oh, okay, cool. Well, if he's not going to die or go away, how do I come to accept him? How do I
bring him into your path?
How do I bring him back so that way I can be whole and not divided? Mm-hmm. So that was coming back to myself and getting that level of self-compassion and self-love, that probably happened. Honestly, it happened after I lost 100 pounds and was working to keep it off, because I lost 100 pounds and everything I was doing was keeping me away from that. But when I was stressed, or when a girl broke up with me, or when my family was having drama, the fat kid was still there. Like, hey, go smack a thing of Twizzlers.
Yeah.
Hey, go eat all the Reese's peanut butter cups.
Right.
Hey, cereal sounds bomb.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hey, let's wake up at 11 o'clock at night. Let's go get some.
Exactly.
chicken
Let's go.
Wendy's.
No, bro, it's IHOP.
Oh.
I go to IHOP. I get a breakfast sampler.
Yeah, dude. It's like, it was your support group.
Mhm.
Imagine losing a friend that's always been there for you for the whole time. I think a lot of times where people have these big yo-yos is because they never acknowledge that that person was there. It was their
Mhm.
friend. It was there for their support.
Mhm.
And they relapse and they become that one person.
Mhm.
They're separating themselves too much. I see a lot of people lose weight and gain weight. And I
Mhm.
started to recognize it's because they're trying to kill that person instead of like
Mhm.
loving that person, embracing that person.
Mhm.
And you successfully, like I'm telling you guys, Nick doesn't yo-yo. He's all of it. Right? So it's like, once you recognize this person, how did you start loving this new person?
Once I recognize a new person, how did I start loving the new person?
Right? Or I guess loving the old
The
person.
old person. Yeah. Loving the old person. So just taking it back to point number one, it's way more mental than it is physical, right? It's hard to be in balance. It's hard to be in equanimity when you actively have negative feelings towards an aspect of yourself.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it was coming to the understanding of, I am this new version of myself.
Mm-hmm.
To get this new version of myself to last, I have to understand that the old version of myself was ultimately doing the best he could with what he knew. Ultimately, that's what it came down to. He was doing the best with what he knew. Nobody in my family is super into the gym, right? Still eat a whole bunch of processed food, getting a lot better these days. But I'm the quote unquote black sheep in my family in that regard.
Same.
And so just really coming to understand as I'm forging my own path in this fitness arena, this version of me, the fat kid version of me, did the best he could with what he had available to him.
Yeah. How are you going to be mad about that person?
He can't.
Right. I can relate to this, Nick. And because you've seen two sides of me,
Mhm.
chill Royce
Mhm.
and then super anxious Royce.
100%.
Right? This Royce. So I had to thank my anxious self because my anxious version would get a lot of work done. And he would get so much work done that he can put food on the table. And for the longest time, he served a purpose. And he still does. Like, I can tap into him. I can rely on him. Just in case, if I have to go top ramen mode, boom.
Yep. Know how to do it.
Yeah, help me out, man. Right?
Mhm.
But then what got me to where I'm at now and where I want to get to is a combination of both.
Mhm.
Like peaceful Royce and then anxious Royce.
Mhm.
And I had to thank him for that. I was like, dude, thank you so much for getting me to where you are. I see what you're doing again. You're protecting me. But there must be another way. Let's figure this out together. And then when you start to put two people together, oh man, now you got anxious and peace. It's serious productivity, dude.
100%.
And it's clarity productivity. It's like, you can work, but I think you should do this instead. Right? He's like, give me something to do. That's what one of my guys are telling me. And then my other side is like, but you should do it this way. Done. Let's double up, triple up on that. And I think the fat kid in people is the same way. It's like, hey, listen, I'm protecting you. Like, I'm your source of doing this. And then you're bringing your more logical side. And it's like, thank you. Let's protect it this way. Does that sound good? He was like, yeah, that makes more sense. Let's do that.
It's a partnership, not a dictatorship.
100%.
And that goes for whatever facet, whether it's fitness, whether it's work-life balance, whether it's however you want to run with it. It is a partnership, not a dictatorship. You can be a dictator in your own body, but only for so long, right? That's when you get the people who are super successful by like 40, right? CEOs of big corporate companies, money coming out of their eyeballs, and they drop dead at 50 from a heart attack. right?
they just start doing cocaine for like days.
100%, 100%.
I've seen it, yeah.
You know what I mean? And that is just being a dictator. My body will do what I want it to do when I want it to do it. Cool. You can do that for a little while, but if you're not taking care of yourself on the back half, eventually you're going to burn out. And what happens when you burn your body out? You're no longer able to be a part of this experience.
Right.
And so if you look at it that way, it's not worth it.
It's the same. You guys are the ones that recognize, like, I forgot about my poor person of me.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, what do you mean you're in the Philippines? I was like, yeah, I was poor.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, what are you not telling me that? I completely blocked it out. The moment I started to bring him into my narrative is when I started to really be my authentic self.
Mm-hmm.
And it's healing. And I think if I went into the path where I just like, no one needs to know about that,
Mm-hmm.
I think I would have that 40-year-old scenario where I would relapse and just like disappear.
Mm-hmm.
So for the audience that are seeing this, you have a past version of you. And if you're not breaking that plateau, it's possibly because you didn't bring this person in yet.
Mm-hmm.
Bring that person in yet, thank them for what they did, and then collaborate with them with what you should do now with your new personality and your past personality, and you'll break that level.
And maybe ask yourself, what was that version of yourself trying to teach you? There's a lesson in everything.
Right.
You just got to be present
Mm-hmm.
enough to ask the proper question to see what it was trying to teach you.
Okay.
So what my fat kid self was trying to teach me is that it was an extension of learned behavior, right? So he was trying to teach me that, hey, you don't have to feel these if you don't want to. Let's eat some cereal, right? Which is not bad.
Yeah.
But at the same time, not necessarily healthy either.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's your other side telling you now.
100%. So then it was, okay, cool. When that person pops up, like, don't get me wrong, last night? No, it was 2 nights ago. I have freaking gummy bears in my freaking pantry, right? And it's like 9:30, 10 o'clock. Yeah. And I'm just like, oh, I want to smack these gummy bears. And I'm like, why are you smacking the gummy bears?
Yeah.
And then like literally sat there and asked myself that, like, why you want to smack the gummy bears?
Yeah.
And my fat kid self went, because we're tired.
Yeah.
I'm like, cool. How about we don't smack the gummy bears?
Yeah.
And we go to bed.
He's like, all right.
He's like, fine. Gummy bears sound good.
That's, you know, it sounds crazy, but we have these internal dialogues. And if you're in the process of being fit, I think part of health is you have these dialogues. And it becomes comedic at some point. But I'm going to tell you, you see a six-pack on any one of my coaches, I guarantee you they're speaking to another personality as well.
100%.
Right? And you're not crazy. In fact, you're normal.
Mm-hmm.
And just acknowledging that, I think, is very, very healthy at some point. And that's where you start to break this new levels.
Mm-hmm. That's when it's integration.
Exactly.
You start to integrate old self and present self to make future self.
Beautiful. Okay, let's go to the second one.
Second.
You just gave one. This is more mental than physical.
So second one that I wrote down is how simple it is, but it's not easy. So simple in, I needed to find a source of cardio that I didn't mind doing. Simple in, I only eat till I'm about 80% full. Simple in drinking a gallon of water. Simple in not eating past 9 p.m. or 10 p.m., whatever my cutoff was. Right? Simple.
Yes.
But it doesn't make it easy. Yes. Life happens. You get stressed. Maybe you're a little extra tired and your discipline's waning a little bit. Right? So everything that needed to be done and that was done was very simple. Losing 100 pounds is easy, right? Because it is so simple. The hardest part is keeping it off. Because have you done all the internal work, right? Are your frequencies and your vibrations in alignment with each other to continue on this journey that you're on, right? On this fitness journey. Or is there some discord? Is there some non-alignment here, right?
Yes.
Do you think you're this person, but you don't feel you're this person?
This is so good.
Because you have to be able to get who you think you are and how you feel about who you are in alignment to be able to move forward and sustainably move forward, right? This kind of taking us back to the whole imposter syndrome thing.
Yeah. Listen, if you're trying to lose weight, but you're just frustrated because you just can't seem to see any results, we would love to help you out. Now we've been helping thousands of our athletes over the course of a decade by crafting personalized programs that are not only sustainable but also effective. Now, if you're ready to transform your health, click on the show notes below, book a call with one of our coaches. We'd love to help you out. Now back to the show. Peace. As you're explaining this to me, we had a conversation a long time ago, and I always bring up problems to you often because you're a great solver and you could also take things in. And I can't quite remember what the problem was, but the question you asked me was like, but if it was easy, what would you do? And it was a very complex problem. And then just saying that question made me understand that, oh, all I had to do is this, this, and this, right? Whatever is easy to do can all like whatever that's hard, like just in terms of hard, it can also be easy and vice versa. And what makes it difficult is something oftentimes, whether it's consistency, time, or discipline, or changing your environment, you'll find evidence. But it's so good to just like remind yourself, if you were like, hey, Nick, by the way, this is really easy to do. But it's also really hard to do.
It's easy to do, but hard to continue.
In what way? Why is it hard to continue?
It's the discipline, right? Like it's some days you're in your feels. Yeah. Some days you're thinking more logically. On the days that you're in your feels, if you wake up and you're like, oh, I'm tired, I don't want to do this today.
Okay, how do you fight that? Because I feel like a lot of times, a lot of people are in those feels. I want to say they're 20%, they're in it. 80%, they're in their feels. But you continue to keep taking steps forward. How do you do that?
Full transparency. Some days I allow myself to be in my feels. When I am going all gas, no brake, I burn myself out. And I'm not able to be of a high level of service like I like to be to all of our members and to all the individuals I interact with on a daily basis. Love it. And so probably for like the past 6 months, I've been on the days when I wake up and I'm wrecked and I'm tired. Cool. You get an extra 90 minutes of sleep, right? You can have an extra REM cycle. But as soon as you're done with that REM cycle, you have to get up. Right. And there's been some days where I'll go longer than a REM cycle. But I don't enjoy the feeling of being behind on my day. Like I don't like the feeling of trying to catch up to my day. I would rather be in front of my day and be able to chill and show up to an event 10, 15, 20, half an hour early, right? Just because I have the time. I don't want to be getting there right on the nose because I'm trying to catch up to my day. And so how I combat those feelings, right, in the morning these days is I remind myself of like, okay, cool. You remember last time when you slept in for a little longer? How did you feel? You didn't like how you felt the rest of the day. So just understand if you take this action, this is what will happen, right? And so I'm human, right? Sometimes I'll be like, no, that won't happen. And then I'll sleep in and I'll wake up and be like, shit, it happened. Right. But just understanding that what is my ultimate goal and is what I'm wanting to do taking me 1% towards my ultimate goal. And so it's kind of funny that this is coming into play because as I worked to integrate fitness into my lifestyle, I'm actively working to incorporate golf into my everyday lifestyle because I have huge aspirations there. And so when I was chasing my fitness, it was cool. What have you done today in relation to your fitness? It was a question I'd ask myself. And if it was nothing, I'd go do something, right? Or if I did something and I didn't feel like it was enough, I'd go do some more. Right. So now it's, okay, cool. What are you doing in relation to golf? You say you want to be a pro one day. You say you want to be able to be the generational pivot in your family wealth-wise, take your family around the world and travel. These are wonderful aspirations. What have you done today to work towards that? Nothing? Oh, okay, cool. So you're just talking about it. You're not being about it. How do you be about it? Oh shit. Well, I'm not going to make it out to the golf course. Right. So I went from making it out to the golf course to practice for big chunks of time every couple of days to now I'm at the golf course 2 to 3 times a day. I'm actively trying to get there 3 times a day, even if it's just for an hour each time. So that way I am actively working towards what it is that I say that I want. So wrapping it in with fitness, if you want to lose 50 pounds, 30 pounds, if you want to get abs, right? What have you done today in relation to that goal to get you 1% closer? If you can't answer that question, go do something.
So good.
Excuse me.
So there's this like notion that people are born with discipline, right? And here's the thing: what you brought up, your level of discipline eventually created a contrast of how you felt and were aware. So when you do something long enough, discipline happens. And discipline is not like sometimes it doesn't show up like I'm just going to do the thing because I'm just going to do the thing. Sometimes discipline will speak in ways as like, you remember when you felt this way. You can sleep in, but you like it when you're doing this way. That's what discipline can sound like. And sometimes that discipline doesn't happen until you do something long enough to feel and see the benefits. I've been fit for so long that in moments I feel unfit, I feel so sick, right? You're like, why am I so mad? Why am I holding so much tension, right? Why am I not so clear? When you're in this state, your physical state is so good for so long, that discipline kicks in a way where it's just like, dude, it's because you feel like this. In the past, you were doing, that's what discipline can sound like. And I love how you brought that up, because everyone thinks we have discipline. All I know is I know what poop feels like, and I know what great feels like.
100%.
And I decide to feel that way. And if you can just live here for a little bit, you'll know what I'm talking about. That's what discipline is, my friend. Right? So I'm glad that you brought that up, because people are like, how you have discipline to do that? And I was like, dude, I don't got discipline, man.
And discipline's
I hate to tell it to the people.
Ever-evolving thing. It is ever evolving. Like to this day, if you ask me what I'm working on in my personal life, discipline.
It's a forever.
It's a forever thing, right? Because once you're disciplined in one arena, wonderful. I guarantee you're falling short in a bunch of other ones because you focus on that one arena, right? And discipline. So it's like low hanging fruit, or like smallest barrier to entry, right? So like if people want to work on a discipline muscle, cool. Wake up, make your bed.
Yes.
Do it for 30 days.
That's a great way.
And then don't do it on the 31st day and see what happens.
And just observe.
And just observe. Yeah. Your body's like, your mind's like, come on, man. I feel like we're forgetting something. Like, what is it? What's going on? And it's, you didn't make your bed.
Dude, that's why I like 75 hard. Remember there's that phase where they kick you out?
And and you're like, oh my gosh.
Guys, I got kicked out. What do I do? And you didn't realize the structure of a checklist was not prison. It was home.
It was freedom.
I was like, oh my gosh, why do I feel better when I do this? So by pulling yourself out, those are moments when you start to recognize that it may not even be discipline. People think it's discipline from external side, but it's masked as awareness. I just know what bad feels like. I don't want to feel that way. That's why I continue to do burpees. That's why I continue to do Murphs, so on and so forth. Right? So, love it. Let's get to the third one, because I got a client in 10 minutes. We're actually doing pretty good.
Yeah, I was about to say, we're doing pretty good. And the third one was 100 pounds up or 100 pounds down. People treat you different. I'm still the same person that I was at 300 pounds. Still the same person I was when I was 200 pounds and shredded.
Yeah. You notice it, huh?
Oh yeah. And it's I notice it in everything. It's conversations with men. When I'm 300 pounds, it goes one way. When I'm 200 pounds, it goes a completely different way. Right? And it's neither here nor there, neither good nor bad. That's all subjective. It's just something to be aware of. One of the things that just really threw me for a loop when I lost 100 pounds is women who wouldn't even give me the light of day, like wouldn't care to have a conversation with me. Like body language is like, okay, you're talking to me, but like I don't really care to be here. As soon as I lost 100 pounds, whenever I would see them, they were actively coming to me. Oh, hey, you remember da 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 da. Yeah. Okay, well, here's my number. Let's go do whatever. And I'm just like, okay, hold on.
What's happening right
I'm
now?
like, whoa.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I see what's going on here. I lose 100 pounds. You treat me different. Oh, I'm still the same guy. And because you're looking so much at my external,
Right.
there's that flip-flop, I don't care none for it.
Yeah.
I don't care none for it.
So this is so good because oftentimes when the physical shape, I think it's so different. This is going to be a fun question because I listen to a lot of podcasts with wealth, and one of their questions at the very end is like, was it worth it? Are you happier because of it? Are you happier that you exited with $100 million? And then they give an answer. Oh, now I'm going to ask the question. Are you happier because you lost 100 pounds or has it been the same?
So initially, when I lost 100 pounds, I was less happy.
Wow.
Just because I thought on the other side of losing 100 pounds, life was going to be all sunshine and rainbows. That was the expectation. Life's still life, whether I'm 100 pounds up or 100 pounds down. And so after having been able to keep 100 pounds off, way more joyous. Way more joyous. Love the process, love everything about it. But initially I was looking for the external validation. I was looking for something outside of myself to make me feel some type of way on the inside, right? Really coming to understand once I had all that, once I had the abs, once I had the endurance, once I could almost dunk a basketball, once I had all these different things, I was no happier. I was almost a little less happy because I was focused so much on the external, and I was focused so much on what the external would bring me and what it was trying to fulfill for me on an internal side. And so once I got there and I was like, okay, abs, people treat you different. Abs are there. Okay, cool. Why do I feel this way? And then again, the work got deeper. Right? I had to figure out, oh, okay, cool. I was looking at fitness and abs and attention and feelings of worthiness. I was looking at that to validate me externally. I can't get that externally. I mean, you can, but it won't last. Yeah. Right? The most longest lasting is getting that from the internal. Right? Really coming to understand I'm worthy of anything and everything.
When did you recognize that? Like, you're just like, okay. Because I feel like everyone gets to that end point. For me, every time I get to the end point, I'm the most depressed. And it takes at least like 1 or 2 months for me to recognize, okay, the journey was the best part the whole time.
100%. The process. The process is always the best part. We're so quick. We try so hard to get to the end. We try so hard to get to the end. And when you're rushing to the end, you're missing all the beautiful stuff in the middle.
It's so good. So would you tell yourself that? Enjoy. Open your eyes. This is the best part, bro.
Be present. Be where your feet are. Don't. The abs will come. Yeah. Right? It'll all come. Just enjoy the process along the way. Smile, fist bump some people, laugh a little bit, maybe cry a little bit, but enjoy the process because the process is the most beautiful part. Once you get to the end goal, it's like, oh, okay, cool. I lost 100 pounds. I was shredded, and it was like, then I lost a why for fitness. Right? Once I got everything that I wanted that I thought was unattainable and I got it, then what? You know what I mean? So then there was a little
when golf came and all these other stuff.
100%. That's when I was like, oh, okay, cool. How can I take what I've learned in this arena and apply it elsewhere? And that's the most beautiful part about my fitness journey is it's taught me so much that I'm very fortunate to be employed by you and to be able to help people strive towards their fitness goals. But that experience has given me a foundation for, hey, you know how to actively change.
Yeah.
So what is it that you actively want to change into? Well, I actively want to change into a professional golfer. I think that sounds like so much fun.
That's going to be the best part.
Oh, bro.
Yeah.
No, the best part is going to be the journey. Like the best part is getting out for 2.5 hours, 3 hours out of my day. The best part is what I've recently been doing is I've been nixing the gym in the morning and I've been going to the golf course for like 2 to 3 hours in the morning, setting my day off completely different. And then I can get my workout in the early afternoon because I have that flexibility. And it just puts me in a completely different space.
Yeah.
A completely different space.
Dude, as you're saying this, I'm replaying my video game days. So Tara and I played a video game called Harry Potter.
Yes.
It was like an RPG.
Yes.
And by the way, I beat it in like 2 weeks. I was like level 100 in 2 weeks. And she's over there just feeding unicorns.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like level 3.
Mm-hmm.
And she's having a blast. And I'm like, why are you even playing this game? Why don't you just finish all the quests?
Mm-hmm.
She was like, I'm just like, let me be. And she's
Mm-hmm.
so happy. And I didn't understand it there, but then I went to another game and then I finished it. Top of the line, 100, level 100. Like, that's the thing. And it takes me a long time to recognize that the whole time where the game is the most exciting is the grind,
Mm-hmm.
right? The frustrating points. And
Mm-hmm.
now when I get into frustrated moments in life, I'm like, this is why I do it. This is
Mm-hmm.
so fun. And when I get to the end, it's like that's why I love video games, because they're really microcosms of what life is.
Mm-hmm.
Play a game, finish it, tell me how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to tell you, you're like, when your stats at NCAA 2K is all hundreds, you're just dunking on everyone. You can shoot 3-point. You know what I'm talking about.
Yes, 100%.
How long do you play that game anymore?
You don't.
You don't.
You don't.
You're like, this is boring.
It's like the fun is in the chase, right?
100%.
The dog loves to chase the ball, or the dog loves to chase the bone.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Joker said it. It's if you get the bone, then what do I do with it? That's not the fun part. The fun part isn't having the goal. The fun part is in the chase, right? Whether you're acquiring a partner, whether you're acquiring a business, whether you're acquiring a new skill set for your fitness, doesn't matter. The end goal is never what it is that you really want. What you want is the process and what and who the process allows you to become.
I love this. So guys, if you're listening to this right now, the thing you're hating the most is actually the thing that you're going to miss the most as well.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can recognize that, if you can just grasp this moment, you're hitting a plateau, you gained a pound, you gained 2 pounds, wherever that frustration point is, and you hate it and you're so distraught by it, I'm going to tell you, as you fast forward, you speak to that future person. That future person's going to be like, dude, this was the best part.
Mm-hmm.
Just open your eyes. I know it's going to feel frustrating, but you can be frustrated and smile along with it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to get you through the next step.
The reason you're frustrated is because you care.
100%. Yeah. Okay, so we got to do an action, because I like to do conversations action, and I got a client here in a little bit.
Okay.
What's someone right now is trying to lose 20 pounds or maybe 30 pounds or maybe even something daunting like 100 pounds. What action plans would you recommend them do now? Maybe just one, just pick a time.
Just one for time.
What's the action plan that they should do right now?
Figure out what they need to lose, or figure out what they need to release from a mental space to lose weight in a physical space.
How do they do that?
Questions. Right?
You just write it down.
Build your awareness, right? If you're hungry, okay,
Yeah.
ask yourself, am I hungry for protein?
Yeah.
Am I hungry for carbs?
Or am I just hiding my emotions somewhere?
Am I using it as a vice? Am I trying to not feel? Or am I thirsty? Right? You ask yourself enough of those questions. Let's say, oh, you think it's protein. You eat some protein, you give it like 10, 15 minutes and you're like, oh, I'm still hungry. Cool. Maybe you wanted something sweet. So like go munch on some fruit. Oh, cool. You're still hungry after you eat the fruit. Oh, so it wasn't, you don't want, okay, maybe drink some water. Right? Go pound 12 ounces, 32 ounces of water. Oh, yeah. You're no longer hungry? Oh, okay, cool. Your body was trying to signal to you that you were thirsty.
Wow. This is so good, guys. Because if you want to release 50 to 100 pounds, the heaviest weight sometimes is not the scale. That's what's happening in the head. And the way you can release this, and we've done this before, is you just write a paper down, you just write it. If you want to physically release your thoughts, write it and look at it. And if I guarantee you, in the process of you losing 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 pounds, as you continue to do this and you do your exercises and your nutrition, there's so much healing. This is the best part of it.
And as you write those things down, don't judge.
Just look at it.
Just look at it.
Yeah.
Third party outsider. Whatever you write down, don't judge it. Because as soon as you judge it, cool, now you're just adding weight to that mental whatever, however heavy it is in your brain. So don't judge it.
So good.
Allow it to be. Acceptance.
I love it. So guys, hopefully that gives you some insight what this is going to be like. If you're in the process of doing that right now, borrow those 3 from Nick. Replay it. I'll put some little chapters so you can find what those 3 things are. If you guys love this episode, make sure to share, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon.